and that's his Queensland teammate. It can't be Constance.
Yeah. No, I think you're right there. Look, I don't know who it should be, to be honest. I'm that confused now. My head's on backwards. I think I've been running reruns of The Exorcist, TC, to try and get my head on straight, to try and work it out, because he's failed pretty well. He did well at 3, didn't he, Marnus? Early in his career, he's sort of savagely fallen away at 3 since then. And, do you put him up the order and risk him? I don't know. Anyway, but that's their problem. The other one is Arnie. Arnie's retired. What a great career she had, and well done to her. And salute and dip your lid to her. And I'm sure there's massive things ahead of her for whatever she wants to try and do. But what a superstar. It made people like me and others, I'm sure, watch swimming again.
Yep, absolutely. We touched on that a little bit earlier on in the show, Brad. Just the mental fortitude you'd have to be at that level of swimming for that long. It'd just be just a mental struggle, I'd imagine, just going up and down the pool every morning.
Well, it's a lot better these days, isn't it? You know, I think we all grew up with kids who were good swimmers, diggers, you know, and they used to get down to Kevin Duff's or whatever it might have been, the heated pool, that one down there, TC, and watch that black line for a couple of hours every morning, go to school, then go back again in the afternoon and do it all again. You think, blimey, you know, it must be, it's a tough gig, but now they're well remunerated, looked after. It's a professional sport now, pretty much, and again, I get it, and most of these kids come into it very young, don't they, diggers, 13, 14, 15, and if they get through to 25, well, it seems like young to everyone else, but when you've been in the caper for 10 to 12 years, I reckon, TC, you're right, probably takes its toll.
Yep, absolutely. All right, AFL trade period. Thank God it's over, Brad, but we'll dissect. We might go through team by team what they added and what they lost, and then I'll get your thoughts along with Digby's thoughts about if they've improved, if they've got worse, or if they've stayed pretty similar. We'll kick it off with Sydney, who landed the big fish, Charlie Curnow. They also added Malcolm Roses, who might add them a little bit of depth in that small forward position, but they lost Haywood, Florent and Buller. They gave up their first 3 rounders for the next 3 years. Did you like what Sydney did?
Yeah, I think they had to, and this is and what I did like about them, clearly, diggers, they had wooed, seduced, romanced Charlie Curnow, and they got it done, and they knew they had to give up a bit to get it done. But good on them. Well done to Coxie and the Sydney Swans team, because that's what you need to do when you go all chips in. You've got to make sure it works. So, big tick for me, and I think we all agree. If Charlie can return to somewhere near his best, get back into that goal-kicking mode, they're probably, one of those teams that we think is going to go into the 8 next year.
Concur. I think they're big improvers next year off the back of getting Charlie Curnow. They lose Haywood, they lose Florent, they get Roses Jr., who can nip around at the feet of the talls. But the Curnow acquisition's immense for them, and their demographic of that list.
All right, St Kilda, they added Jack Silvani, Tom de Koning, Sam Flanders and Liam Ryan. They kept Rowan Marshall. They got Jack Steele off their books. He headed to Melbourne. Bradley, what do we think about what the Saints have been able to do the last 2 weeks?
Look, they'll be happy with what they did. As we saw the salary dump with the captain, going to Melbourne for what was it, a future 2027 pick. Seriously, they won't even be valid at that stage once Tasmania come in. So they'll be happy about that. I think they'll be pleased with their lot. But again, I just reiterate, I'm happy to bet against them. I don't think it's going to change that much. Yeah,
for me, I'm on the other side of the court. I think they're massive winners. You get de Koning, you get Flanders, you get Ryan, you get Silvani. So you strengthen up areas of the ground that need to. And you keep Rowan Marshall. Now, I would have thought that they could have traded him out. I'm not exactly sure where he fits in the scheme of things in 2026, but St Kilda play finals next year for mine.
Well, he'll have to play forward, won't he?
Well, that's the thing, though. That's the thing, Brad. Like, if Max King's back, where does Rowan Marshall slide in round one? Because de Koning's not he's not positioning a spot in the forward pocket. He's your number one ruck.
No. Correct. That's what I'm thinking. It's strange. But anyway, I think they made a statement that they weren't going to trade contracted players, but they did and they didn't, because they didn't with Marshall and they did with the captain.
Yeah. So anyway, but for mine, they're a big tick. Yep.
All right, I think both gentlemen, you'll be big ticks on what the Gold Coast Suns were able to do. They added Christian Petrarca and Jamara Ugle-Hagan. They've got picks 15, 18 and 24. They kept Bailey Humphries. That midfield's going to be very dynamic now, Brad.
Yeah, it is, and they're big winners because 6 and 7 or 7 and 8 wasn't any use to them because they're really on their academy players, and now they can do that easily. And they get Petrarca in the door to be the centre forward midfielder, and hopefully he can kick a few goals and just take them to another level.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, they've stockpiled sufficient picks. They can match any bids. They get Petrarca. If Jamara Ugle-Hagan gets his head screwed on right and he wants to contribute, wants to work, wants to behave like a proper AFL individual, he's a big tick as well. Ainsworth's a loss. He's a solid player. Fiorini, Flanders. But all in all, Gold Coast, they're in the go zone now. I think we know that. They've won a final. They've had a taste. You put Petrarca and Humphrey and Rowell and Anderson and the like rolling together through that midfield at the feet of Witts. Yep, like what I see.
Yep, all right. Well, we'll use that segue. Ainsworth, he ended up at Carlton, so Carlton end up with Will Haywood, Liam Reedy, Campbell Chesser, Ben Ainsworth, Ollie Florent. They lose Curnow, Silvani, De Koning and Durden. They've got picks 9, 11, 43 as well. What about Carlton, Brad?
Yeah, no, they've done well. I think they needed to do that. I think they weren't, again, one of those clubs who said we're not trading Charlie Curnow. Well, you knew he was gettable as long as you came up with the right deal. Come and get him, and they did. And I think it's good for Michael Voss, and I think they've got first rounders 6 of them in the next 3 drafts. So as I say, but I'm still worried about when Tasmania comes in and what they're going to be worth. But yeah, no, I don't mind Haywood and Florent as long as they can establish themselves fairly quickly in that team. And it just gives them a different sort of a profile now, and I think they'll be looking forward to I don't think they'll make the 8 next year, but I think they'll be better.
Yeah, I like it. Curnow's a loss. Clearly, Silvani, De Koning, Durden, they're big losses, aren't they? But I think they've made the best of a bad situation. Would it be fair to say? Like Silvani, they knew he was leaving. De Koning, they knew he was leaving. Curnow, it became apparent quite early he wanted out. So they've compensated as best they can. I think if I'm a Carlton supporter, I'm disappointed, but I'm also recognising that the club has done okay in the end.
All right. Essendon, Bradley, they get Fiorini in. They lose Sam Draper. They keep Merritt. I will ask your thoughts on what they were able to do there, but they go to the draft with 5, 6, 21 and 27.
Well, I just said with all the narrative all along, we don't blame Essendon. They were steadfast. They didn't want to, and we know that can be movable, and people can change their mind. And we thought they might, and I think they still would have if Hawthorn had stumped up, and Hawthorn didn't do enough. So Merritt stays. I still worry about it, I must admit, because of the fact that people say, it'll be awkward for the first few training sessions, but I worry about when the heat goes on next year, Diggers, and things aren't going right. That underlying simmering angst will come to the fore. So, and losing Draper, who didn't play all year, well, again, but it's not ideal for them. So the jury's still out for me, and I still think they're stuck with Brad Scott. That's their problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a fair offer, Brad, to be fair, what Hawthorn were proposing. 3 first-rounders for a 30-year-old. They said no. They're going to be bottom 4 or 6 again, are they not, Essendon?
Yeah.
So,
well, no disrespect, but anybody than Huswaite, that might have been it might have knocked it over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the young bloke's not setting the world on fire. He's capable, but he's a VFL player. Yeah. Let's face it. So that's not going to get it done. They needed to come up with something a bit more than that.
All right, the GWS Giants, they weren't overly active, but they added Clayton Oliver. Does that make them better?
Yeah, I think it makes them better. They've probably got it half right. I mean, if you know what I mean. I mean, they needed another inside mid. They only have to pay half the wage. It's still a long-term contract. And you just hope, as Digger said, outlined about Jamara, you just hope that he gets himself back into football mode. That's all. And maybe a change of space, a change of scenery might help him. And look, what else have you got in Sydney, really, other than footy? I mean, and I don't say that disrespectfully. I'm just saying that's your job. That is your job now. You've got to go there and apply yourself to the full extent. And if he does that, he could turn out to be a worthwhile player for him.
Yeah, I think they're better. They're better with him. He helps their clearance game. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And that's a part of their game that needs addressing. So they've addressed a deficiency.
Might have been a couple of sides that have gone past them, though.
Yeah, possibly.
I'd be putting a rider on him. I'd be saying 1 kick, 3 handballs, please.
He wouldn't be the only one. We might turn into a handball league.
Imagine if that was the case, Liam Duggan wouldn't have a kick in his clause in his contract.
Come on, Dickers.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying for everybody, but there are some players who are better off handballing than kicking.
All right.
And he's one.
Locally, Brad, Fremantle will start with them. Judd McVie comes in. They lose Brodie and Reedy, who didn't play too much footy whatsoever over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And they go to the draft with pick 20 and 47.
Well, that was their motto, stick and pick. Pick and stick, and they decided to do that. And McVeigh coming back in is going to help them. I think it gives them a little bit more flexibility through their back six and maybe even through their midfield at times. So, I think they'll be again not really a player, but in the thing. But McVeigh was a tick.
Yep, I think they're better. He plays. He's in their best 12 to 15 players straight away. Gives them a bit of pop off halfback if they want that. Ultimately, could he transition into the midfield potentially? He just gives them a bit of depth, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So no, they'd be happy, and they've kept pick 20. So no, they're all right.
All right, West Coast Eagles, Brad. Starcevich comes in, Tyler Young comes in. They lose Oscar Allen, Liam Ryan and Campbell Chesser, and they go to the draft with 1, 2, 13, 34 and 41.
Yeah, well, they had to do that. They had to go in and get that glue that we spoke about, and Starcevich is one of those. There's no doubt about that. He's a fine player, and provides that he can hold up and doesn't get any more head knocks. That'll be really, really good for him. Tyler Young, I mean, they're making him out to be, he's not David Dench, but he's going to help. I think that just gives them a little bit more structure behind the footy, I would have thought. And, I don't have any problem. I think they were better off without Liam Ryan, as you know, and Oscar Allen was always destined to go. And Campbell Chesser, was a 50-50 for me. He's had injury when he first came, but he needed a change of scenery. But at least they've got those picks to go to the draft now and start worrying about the next couple of years in regards to even more younger talent coming in to be guided properly.
A football club is a sum of all parts, that we know. So now it's over to the recruiters. Nail your picks.
Yep.
The list management team has done what it's done. Andrew McQualter and his coaches are trying to regenerate this list. They're implementing a game plan year 2. Hopefully they're better. It's now up to the recruiters to do their job.
All right, Brisbane, Brad, they get Oscar Allen and Sam Draper. They lose Starcevich, the man we just spoke about. They still have pick number 17 along with 23 and 44 inside the top 50. And what did you think of what they did around Calamachi?
Yeah, I look, I know it didn't, but again, that's Adelaide's fault. Adelaide were the one who courted him and then wanted to give up a bucket of, you know what.
But they'll get him, Brad, won't they? They'll get him in the pre-season.
Yeah, but I think it just sets a little bit of a standard for them, and they did really well there in that regard. I think, just to inform everybody, hey, listen, we run the club, not you guys, and I feel sorry for Callum because of the fact that he's a 2-time premiership player, and you want to have people, you don't want people leaving you with misgivings. You know what I mean? There was a 4-year deal on the table for him to stay at Brisbane, and they may work on that. I don't know. Between now and the pre-season draft. I know his manager's talking tough and all of that sort of stuff, but yeah, sometimes this can have a psychological effect on players if it's not in their DNA to be confrontational.
Yeah, I think Brisbane would be happy. They've got Allen, they've got Draper, they've got some draft capital now, so they'll match any picks for Annabelle. He's going to be a ready-made young midfielder. He comes into the system.
Yep.
They lose Archie, they lose Starcevich. They were well aware of that well before grand final day, so it's now up to Adelaide to strike a deal.
You're in good shape.
Yeah, put a price on their head, put a price on Archie's head.
What he'll do, Archie, he'll be heavily weighted. It might be, the first 2 years might be 1.1 million.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And once he gets in the joint, which they've got to pay it, we know that.
Yep.
But once he gets in the joint, then you flatten it out at the back end if
Correct.
they want to extend it out.
Yep.
All right, any other clubs that we haven't touched on that you think need a little bit of attention, Brad?
Just on Brisbane, I can confirm for you, Danny Daly definitely staying Brisbane. That's been warded off, as we thought it would be. So, yeah, look, I think a lot of clubs sort of sat on their hands a little bit, and we didn't really see a lot of them.
What about your
the Bulldogs
boys,
got
Brad?
Butterick.
What do you? How?
Yeah, well, they tried. As I say, there wasn't a case of not through lack of effort trying to find that elusive established tall defender, but that didn't happen. But Butterick wants to play back, which is good. I can see him usurping, a Jason Johannesson type. He'll be that one who will be the lockdown defender, I think, which is good from that point of view. And they'll go into the draft now, and they'll certainly be searching for a bit more power and speed across the midfield again, but they'll also be trying to find a tall to try and groom going forward to see if they can, fast-track somebody, hopefully, to be involved in the next 18 months in regards to where they sit with their key defender.
Is there a world next year where Norton would be switched back, or is he wedded to him forward of the ball?
No, I think he's wedded to him forward of the ball. I think it worked out. It's not broken now. I mean, what did he kick? What did he end up kicking? He kicked quite a few.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And him and Darcy, that were, as I said, all along, the only reason he didn't go back before, we said time and time again, was because they were waiting for Ugle-Hagan and Darcy to come through. We know Ugle-Hagan's no longer there, and Darcy's going like a bomb. So it's beauty. So one right, one wrong. So, that's why. And so I dare say he'll be staying up the front, but they'll be manufacturing other things to try and mitigate the amount of ball that goes into the forward 50. I think Diggers as much as anything else.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's part of the problem as well. Brad, anything else we need to touch on before we let you go?
No, I think we're all fatigued by it all, boys. To be brutally honest, and as I say, it's everybody will think they come out the winners, and rightfully so, or wrongly so, and all that sort of stuff. So, we can just sit back and wait for the big draft night now, which won't be too far away. And I'm sure all of those people have just put down their guns yesterday. But again, I do want to clip Hawthorn. I think they've put, if you go and seduce and try and woo somebody in and promise them the world and deliver an atlas, in the end, it's very underwhelming for me. And they say, we'll look at him at 2026. Well, I think that horse is bolted. I think that's going to make people's minds change, boys. I've been there, done that, and you can it, like an Archie and a Merritt and a few that didn't get to where they wanted to go, or maybe a Rowan Marshall. As I say, they'll say, you can fix the fence, but sometimes the fence still wearies very, very quickly when things aren't going well.
All right, we'll chat to you next week, and we'll hear from you on the Aftermath on Sunday, Brad.
Yeah, look forward to it, boys. Don't forget Group 1 Morts. There's 17 stores. Got to be one near you. Don't forget the Nude Nut. 1-800-100-100. He can do things the banks can't. And Frankie Lee, of course, he's a champion, boys. He's statewide as well.
Happy punting.
See you, boys.
Brad Hardie is proudly presented by Retrovision, Loans 123, and Ross's Auctioneers and Valuers. Retrovision, lowest price guaranteed. RAC members save 5%. Loans 123 for all your loan needs. Call Steve Sell on 1-800-100-100. Ross's Auctioneers and Valuers, the leading auctioneering firm in WA.